My name is Daniel, and I'm a California State Park interpreter here at Point Lobos State Natural Reserve. Point Lobos is located on the central coast of California, about 8 miles south of the town of Monterey, and about 125 miles south of the city of San Francisco. That gives you a good idea of what our location is. And of course, we are on the glorious Pacific Ocean right here. What I would like to do today before we get started is just talk a little bit about state parks and COVID-19. I want to thank you for being home and watching this broadcast from the safety and security and the health of your home and not being outside potentially with other folks spreading the virus. So thank you for shelter in place and using your resources to watch these great programs from California State Parks. I think that's very important. With that, let's talk a little bit about our program today. I introduce myself as Daniel, a California State Park interpreter. And some of you may be wondering what a state park interpreter is and what they do. And that's what we're going to find out as we explore Point Lobos today. Is we're going to find out not only more about Point Lobos, but what a state park interpreter does. What is their job? At its base level, it's a type of ranger in a park that tells the story of the park. We give voice to the plants, to the animals, to the culture and stories that came before us. And hopefully, we're also a voice for the present and the future. With that in mind, we're going to make a few stops along the way, learn about Point Lobos, and learn about what a state park interpreter does. First, let's scan the scene. We want to give you a sense of place right now of what Point Lobos looks like. And when I scan the scene, what I also do is I take some notes about what the conditions are. An interpreter wants to know about patterns. They want to make observations, and they want to know about patterns through the seasons, through the years. So with that, I have a tool, and my tool is a waterproof piece of paper. And a waterproof pencil where I'll jot down basic notes about my time here in the park. So as we go ahead and scan the scene, taking a look all around, we'll make some observations. The first thing I write down in my field journal, or actually my field list here, is the date. April 14th, 2020. I'll mark the temperature as well. And right out here in the wide open sun, we do have, I don't know if you can see that, we have 82 degrees Fahrenheit right here at Point Lobos at the overlook perched above Whalers Cove. And I'm going to put that next is where I am. I'm at Whalers Cove here at Point Lobos. Oh, sorry for you Celsius folks. It's 28.2 degrees Celsius. So these are notes that I take when I come into the park and I start my shift. Now, another thing that I want to point out is this incredible wide beach right there. That's our destination. So actually, we better start moving real quick if we're going to make it, because down there, you can see the life forms down there. Harbor seals before our very eyes. And not just any old harbor seals, everyone. That's mama and pup, mama and baby. It is springtime and birthing time at Point Lobos, so we'll get a chance to take a look at those harbor seals from the cliffs above. So we won't disturb them, but we'll observe them. So a state park interpreter will make some observations and help tell those stories to have people connect with this place. Deep down in all of us, we love animals and most of us love plants, but I think all of us have a strong connection with animals, being one ourselves. So when we talk about animals here at Point Lobos and what we do to make sure that they're protected, people listen. and they want to be a part of that. So come along and let's uncover the mysteries of Point Lobos, as well as the mysteries of what a California State Park interpreter does. Here we go. Now, along the way, you're going to see some beautiful sights. And if you're an artist or somebody who just likes to draw or paint, some of the sights that we see here are worthy of painting and drawing. So please feel free as we go along and you feel inspired to paint or draw the scenes here, please do so. Maybe you want to take a screenshot and draw later. That's what I do. I find I don't have a lot of time at work to draw, but I'll take pictures of what I see and draw later. That's a great way to build up, your observation skills, is to draw what you see. And that's something an interpreter wants, is sharp observation skills, and maybe to incorporate some of that artwork into their program. Not every interpreter is an artist, but they use art in their programs to share a point or an idea. So again, if you are feeling inspired to create artwork, there will be a place where you can share that. And I'll give you the hashtag at the end of our time together, but also share it with you now. It's hashtag capital PORTS, ports, lowercase fan, FAN, capital art, ART. Hashtag ports fan art. Oh, I gotta back it up. Something beneath our feet is worthy of taking a look. So we know there have been cultures that have been here before us, cultures that have been here for thousands of years, like the Rumsian Ohlone, that have been here. We see evidence of when they were the only people on this land. And we can take a look right in front of us here to help tell that story and give us some clues as to what's happening here. We're looking at the trail, and we're looking at shells. These shells are from animals that come. We'll take a look at. Just from observing this, is that this was an area where the shells were deposited or thrown after they were through eating what was on the inside. This is known as a midden. And that is a collection of shells, kind of like a modern day garbage dump. But boy, their wrappers were a lot prettier than our wrappers today. Now, everything that we see here at Point Lobos is a protected place. And so we give a voice to all these things that are protected here that people come and visit and learn about. So we're a state reserve, as well as a state marine reserve, a natural reserve and a marine reserve, on land and in the ocean. And our ocean reserve is called an MPA, a marine protected area. And that means that all natural things are protected here. We don't take anything from here, hunt, fish, or collect. It's a safety zone for all the natural elements and for all the life that's here as well. And so a state park interpreter will help people understand that, understand the rules and why we have these rules here and why it's important to leave things as they are here. This stop right here is an important plant for everybody to know about. It is all over our state of California and Point Lobos. And I'll give a voice to this plant as well. It's growing in abundance. It's got shiny green leaves, little tinges of red. Oh, we've got some swallows above us. Oh, they were pretty quick. Let's take a closer look at this particular plant. It comes in leaves of 3. We can see that right here, 1, 2, and 3. Leaves of 3, let them be. Poison oak. Now, poison oak may cause some trouble if you're allergic to it. My recommendation is assume that you are. If you brush up against it, oils will get on your skin. And a couple of days later, if you haven't washed your hands right away or within a certain amount of time, you might break out in a rash. So for us, poison oak can be troublesome. But for the other animals that are here, like the deer, the squirrels, birds, they use it. The deer will munch on its leaves. The squirrels and the birds I've seen eat berries from the poison oak. So it has its use here. Its roots are keeping the soil in place to prevent, erosion. So poison oak has its role. And we may not fully understand it, on a personal level, but on an ecological level, it really makes sense as a food source and a land or soil stabilizer. So there we have a little bit more about poison oak, a little bit of its story that I get to share with you. Perched above the Pacific Ocean, our next part of the trail involves walking quietly and making observations. Western fence lizard. With these warm temperatures, it's coming out to sun itself. Being an ectotherm, it gets warm. It's cold-blooded, so it gets warmed up by the sun. Sometimes we'll get a flash of blue on the sides of their belly, giving them their nickname, blue bellies. All right. Oh, there we go. It's leading us down the path. We've got some birds right in front of us as well, going up into this ceanothus shrub. So we can observe a little bit of wildlife. And students, one thing that is lacking, and I wish distance learning could find a way to correct this, is I wish I could share with you the smells. Because that's a big part of the story as well. These blue flowers are honey scented. Oh, wow, and look at that poison oak, taller than us all. I'm gonna move on over. Now, I mentioned earlier that part of our park is under the water, our marine protected area. You can see the kelp, the giant seaweed that forms a forest out in the ocean. And we can actually see a harbor seal poking its snout up right there. So just like a forest on land is home and habitat to animals, so is the forest in the ocean. Not only do harbor seals live in this forest, but also sea otters. I've scanned the scene, but I don't see any right here. There is something that is sea otter-esque. I've been fooled by kelp and other things like logs. But there is a animal beyond that could be an otter. It's definitely in the right spot. you're someone who likes to learn about animals, make observations, and also educate people about animals, being a state park interpreter might be a good fit for you. Let's stop right here and take a look inland. Well, within the shadows, got some kind of sparrow. Oh, and there it goes. So another one to go on the list. It looks like perhaps a white-crowned sparrow. This would be a great time to take a photo. And find out what it is. So lots of times when I make notes in my list, I don't know what things are, and I'll find out later. I don't bring my field guides out on the trail because I want to travel light when I'm out on the trail. But I'll make good notes and I'll take pictures. And even then, I may not find out what something is. But if you're somebody who likes to find out what things are, I've got a solution for you. Let's walk right up here and I'll share it with you. All right, nice in the shade. We'll actually take a moment to see the difference in temperature. We had, I believe, these earlier. We'll turn on our temperature and see what's going on now. Now, as you're walking along the trail and you're wanting to find out what things are, making notes on what things look like, writing down their characteristics, and taking a picture is a great thing to do. Now, another tool that you can use as you're out on the trail after you take pictures is going to an app called iNaturalist. And that app, you can take a picture or you can upload your picture to the app and you can get it identified for you. You can find out what it is. So the app is called iNaturalist and you can find it, in the App Store. Take a picture of a plant or an animal and you can get it identified and also keep a running list of what you have discovered over time. So there's my list right there. And I have learned a lot through iNaturalist. It's a great way to know what's growing around, even in your own backyard or a local park when it's safe to go out to them. Okay. Our temperature has gone down about 6 degrees in the shade. It's about 75 degrees here in the shade. So we might see some different plants growing, or maybe some different shapes of the plants that are growing in the shadows of these trees here. They'll have to adapt to a different amount of sunlight. So that's also part of the story here at Point Lobos, is the plant life and how they adapt to being here. All right, let's go discover some more. The forest we're walking through right here is comprised of a rare tree, this type of pine. We're going to get to know this pine a little bit better, but a great introduction to this pine is that it only grows in a few places in the entire planet. One, of course, right here at Point Lobos State Natural Reserve. The other places are just north of here, in Año Nuevo State Park, and just south of here, in an area called Cambria, which is just south of Big Sur, about 100 or so miles to our south. There are some populations off the coast of Baja California on some islands. So these 5 places are the only places where the Monterey Pine grows naturally. So that's part of something that makes Point Lobos special and unique. are the natural stands of the Monterey Pine. And we're looking over Bluefish Cove right here, home to a very healthy and beautiful kelp forest. In fact, that kelp forest has been protected for 60 years, making it one of the oldest marine protected areas on the planet. And its birthday is tomorrow. So happy birthday, Point Lobos Marine Protected Area, the underwater portion of our park. Home to the kelp forest, numerous types of fish, invertebrates, marine mammals, including the sea otter. We're going to take a walk right on over here. I know since we got a late start, we don't have quite as much time, but no worries. All right. So a California State Park interpreter is much like an education ranger, a ranger that takes in the information, makes observations over the course of time, takes notes about it, and becomes an expert on their park, and then can answer questions that people may have about their park. They can also use all that information to build programs to educate people about their park. And it's important that people know about the park here because we want people to care about the park. We want people to enjoy the park. And we want this park to be here forever. When Point Lobos became a park on land back in 1933, it was people that made that all happen. When the ocean part became a part of the park in 1960, it was people that made that happen. So really, it's up to you and me to make sure that places like Point Lobos are here and that they are protected. We learn from them, we enjoy them, and we make sure that they're here forever. And so that's why I'm really happy to be able to provide a program for high school students, because you are finding out now, some of the things that excite you, that inspire you, that you may want to do with your life. And protecting our natural and cultural resources is a very incredible thing to do. For me, when I went to college, I was an architect major, but I soon learned that I loved science and I loved education. I love to learn. So my path got changed. And here I am 20 years later, doing exactly what I was hoping I would do. So let that be inspiring as well, that if you dream it, it can happen. Point Lobos is one of the most special places on our planet, and it's an honor and a privilege to be able to educate and protect it and share this with students like yourself. With that said, California State Parks is going to need well-educated, enthusiastic people in their future. So as you make decisions about college and what direction you want your life to go, if you're somebody who wants to support such an incredible mission of the California State Parks, we're going to need you. You may like to be outside and doing something like I'm doing. Fantastic. Maybe you like to be behind the scenes more and making decisions that affect the parks or the budget. Excellent. We need that too. And everything in between, from keeping the trails open and clear to our buildings and our cultural resources. So with that in mind, California State Parks is going to need people like you. You are tuning into this program for a reason, and it may be that the seed get planted for a future of doing something like this. With that said, I referred earlier to artists and art. If you're somebody who's inspired by this incredible area of nature and what it has to offer, and you want to draw or paint something, please feel free to share your creation. And I'm going to put up onto our screen right here a place where you can share your creation. And here you have it. Hashtag ports, capital letters, fan small letters, art, capital letters. And check us out at Port's program. If you have a question or something you're wondering about, you can pose your message or your question there as well. I want to leave that up there for a moment. And if you get inspired later to draw a picture from one of your state park adventures today or in the last few weeks, please feel free to post that. We would love to see what you come up with and what inspires you. And with that, everyone, I want to thank you for taking time out and letting me share a little bit about Point Lobos State Natural Reserve and what a California State Park interpreter does. Sorry we were a little bit late, but hopefully we made up for that. And with that, everyone, it's California State Park interpreter Daniel saying thank you and goodbye from Point Lobos State Natural Reserve.